Everyone, welcome back to Final Resonance TV and Musical Journeys, episode number 22. Today, my guest is the legendary Mike Roberts from Huntsville, Alabama. One of my good buddies. You've been around for a long time up here, and we've been around for a long time as guys playing music for a long time.
Yeah, we've been living in a parallel universe for a long time.
We don't see each other except for passing most of the time.
Yeah,
but anyway,
that's how it happens.
But anyway, Mike's here, and I'm glad he's here. It's great to have you.
Thanks,
over.
man.
You got to play a little bit already and mess around. And
it's fun, too. I mean, exciting times hanging out over here.
Do all the cool stuff that we do. So anyway, I wanted to ask you, since it's funny because as many years as I actually known you, I don't really know all your background at all. I mean,
it's all good.
Where were you born?
I was born in a town in South Alabama called Enterprise, Alabama.
Okay. Where the Army base is and all that?
Yes. My dad worked as a contractor at Fort Rucker.
Okay.
Down there, and he's scheduled and did quality control for Blackhawks and Hueys and Apaches and that sort of thing, helicopters. And we were born in Enterprise there, and we lived. My extended family on my mother and my father's side were from. Well, my mother's side was from Enterprise. My father's side was from New Brockton, Alabama, which is between Enterprise and Elba.
Okay.
One red light. We had one red light there in New Brockton.
Elba.
Elba's a lot of you probably heard a lot of the floods in the Pea River. And the Elba is a plain there that gets flooded sometimes. They work pretty hard on that. But anyway,
so you were
that's where I'm from.
So you were there for how long? In that area?
Well, I was born there, and I moved to Huntsville when I was 3.
Okay, so
because my mom and dad got divorced.
Okay,
and when. My mom and dad were so great. They never said one bad word about each other.
Right.
Until my brother and I were grown.
Right.
Then they would complain. But when we were younger, they never gave us a reason to understand why they divorced, because they wanted us to see good things, And,
sure.
And so they did. And we lived there in Huntsville in Valley Gardens.
Okay.
Over off Bob Wallace.
Okay.
We lived in at that time it was I'm sure it still is somewhat of it's based on your income.
Okay.
Type housing.
Right.
And we lived there, and then we would go back and forth to South Alabama, and I got my musical start when A.B. Stevens was still over off of the Parkway. And I'm sure you probably never saw that.
I actually did early.
Okay, so it's by there. There's actually the original Johnson Pools was there too. That was where the exit is to get on 565 now. And all that's now interstate.
So
you know what I mean?
So you as far as when you came here, what was the first thing that got you interested in music though? Besides, what was the inspiration?
My mama was she's still living, but she doesn't sing much anymore. She was a singer, a very beautiful lady. She was a runner-up for Miss Alabama when she was young.
Wow. Cool.
A very beautiful lady, and her voice. Really great singer in church type stuff, like Sandy Patty type vocals. We couldn't have been further from each other musical interest wise.
Right.
But when I was younger, I played Christian music as well with her, and we would do sometimes shows together at various churches or coffee house type gigs.
So what are you playing at the time? Guitar?
Yes, playing guitar. I didn't start playing mandolin until later in life. But I played guitar, and I also played bass in church sometimes too. I could understand how to follow the kick drum. And it definitely wasn't a rock and roll show at the church where we were at the time.
So what were you listening to though as a kid?
Kiss. You know what I mean? I was a polar opposite kid, Jeff. It's really weird. Since I was a singer, I loved like Leo Sayer and stuff like that. The guy's a great singer, you know what I mean? And I love Kiss, man. Judas Priest. I remember my first album I learned was Judas, and its entirety was Judas Priest "Screaming for Vengeance." I learned that solo and all of the solos I could cop. You know what I mean? And and then my mom found the record and threw it away. Because it's the big bad. But I'm a Baptist. You're not going to listen to that Knights and Satan service stuff. And, it was great. But I always loved rock and roll. Even at an early age. And what was so cool was Mom. As much hell as she gave me doing it, coming up, listening to it, and loving that kind of guitar, she still let my brothers take me to see Destroyer in '78. You know,
right,
what I mean?
right. Yes,
I was in the Love Gun album was done, but they were
Right.
still finishing up the Destroyer tour. That was my first rock and roll concert ever. Was then, and
Right.
it was on. I saw Ace Frehley playing the Les Paul. And I said, I've got
those
to do
big,
this.
those big. Was it the? What do we do those?
Yeah.
All that pentatonic.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was just. That was that was all I was all about that, and I got to see Journey too during that same time. They were doing the Departure tour, I believe it was, and
right.
Wheel in the Sky, and when I saw Neil Schon play that guitar solo, I was like, that's what I'm gonna do.
Right.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play music, and but I was really influenced the most by Canada Power Trio. That wasn't Rush.
Oh, okay. Triumph.
Yes, it was.
I didn't even know that.
It was Triumph, and Rick Emmett was my absolute biggest influence because of the way that he sang.
Oh, he's a killer singer. God, yeah.
And then he played guitar like he played guitar.
Yeah.
And it just made me want to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't that I couldn't stand Hendrix or Zeppelin.
Right.
Or the Beatles, or any of that cool stuff that everybody was telling me I needed to be listening to. It's just that I was so wrapped up in listening to what they were creating that that spoke to me more than anything. Tonally, Les Paul. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And musically, Triumph.
Right.
It wasn't always rock.
Right.
It wasn't always blues. It wasn't always jazz. It was all of those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Magic Power or whatever.
Yeah, man, and Suitcase Blues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that.
He did a lot
Have you
of
ever heard
different-
Dave Anderson do that?
No, I haven't.
You guys should pull it up on YouTube or something. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I got to see for my birthday last year, for my big 5-0. My friends and I, Michael Klein, which you probably know Michael,
Yeah.
and Tim Humlachek and I are both big. We share birthdays are a day apart.
Right.
And we went to Nashville to see Winery and watch Rick play an acoustic show.
I saw you there, yeah.
With his entourage. Didn't you go to that show?
I didn't go to it, but I wanted to go to it, yeah.
I couldn't remember, but he's so good, man. He's so good.
I've seen him acoustic before. He blew my
he's singing the same voice.
mind.
I was just like, hey, and if I don't, he's very I can't remember what he said in the beginning, but basically it was, I'm going to try to hit these high notes, and if anybody makes fun of me because I can't, you can kiss my ass. You can come up here and do them yourself, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. It was just great to be there. But yeah, those are my influences.
You remember that song
know,
they did?
That's a Midsummer Night's Dream, I think.
Or something like that. It was an intro to one of those songs. Yeah, it was.
Midsummer Night's Dream or something with it. I learned that. It was one of my, it was in a, Yeah,
the kind of Blackbirdy kind of thing, right? Yeah, that thing. Yeah. I love that, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was in D. I did key of D. I did a drop D.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff, man. I mean, Never Surrender.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was bending double necks and. You know what I mean? And this was cool. It made me want to be cool like that. You know what I mean? Right. And my parents were going through that time when I was younger. I was having to listen to Christian music because if I wanted to listen to music in that house, it was going to be that. And so I did. But it was Stryper and it was Bride. Did you ever listen to that band?
Oh,
wow! A great 3-piece out of Kentucky.
Really?
Great band, man.
Wow.
3-piece, little tiny short bass player and just some great, great guitar players. They were big buddies with the Headhunters back then. It was kind of a polar weirdness thing, a Christian band that played rock.
Right.
And then there was this, country band that they didn't know what they were. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they were all out there doing a bunch of stuff, and I was in tune with that. I just thought it was really cool because there were a lot of things that mainstream music wasn't telling us back then. Back then, mainstream music was telling us to wear our hair a certain way and dress a certain way and act a certain way and all these things. I know you remember those times too. Sure. Now music isn't like that anymore, and so I'm happy. I'm way happier now than I was when I was younger as far as the direction is just going. You know what I mean? If some guy plays a great guitar solo, nobody cared if he was fat or if he was blind or. You know, or how he dressed.
Sure.
He just kicked ass, and everybody liked it because it kicked ass.
Well, like one of the guys that always comes to mind, that's blown my mind so much, even when he was alive, was Jeff Healey.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy.
A great player, man.
What amazing. I mean, I watched him and Stevie Ray together.
Oh, man. All the YouTube stuff. I pull that stuff up. I turn my kid on. My kids love a guitar now. He's playing bass, playing guitar. And he's so much more talented than I will ever be at this age even, you know. And he's picking up this stuff like a sponge, you know. And one of the things I turned him on to was that Jeff Healey, Stevie Ray Vaughan thing they were doing, you know.
Right together.
You know, and of course, you know, as a 13-year-old, he's like, look at that feather in his hat, dude. That is so cool.
Right.
Yeah, Dad. He's about the guy playing guitar in his lap with Stevie Ray Vaughan. They're both legendary, and they're playing a great song. But what you notice is that feather in Stevie's cap.
Well, I guess
it's funny, man.
Well, you know, we noticed Kiss, so I mean, it's all about the.
What about Shouse? You know Phil?
Yeah, sure.
You go, Phil.
Yeah.
Phil got the gig with Gene Simmons.
Yeah. Phil's been on this show.
Oh man, yeah, that's right. I remember seeing that. I need to go back and watch that thing again.
Yeah, it's a good episode. He had some really fun.
A picture on Facebook last week or 2 weeks ago with him and Ace.
Yeah.
What? I mean, it'd be like you doing a gig with Ace.
Eddie Van Halen, I know.
It'd be like you doing a gig with Ace.
Yeah, me and him talked about Ace because he had already played with Ace at least once by then, and he said it was just cool to stand next to the 412 and hear it. You know, like hear Ace coming out of that.
Yeah, man.
That's just,
in the room. You're in the room.
Man, I'm so jealous of Phil. I'm jealous.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah,
Phil.
you go, buddy. That's awesome.
Yeah, we're all proud of Phil.
Well, you know, you backed up. I think they backed up Ace too on a few shows. No, without Gene.
Without Gene. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
no, I didn't know that.
I think those were overseas, but
man,
that's pretty cool.
Nobody besides the original plays that shit any better than Phil Shouse. Phil's a great guitar player, man.
Yeah,
you're great, Phil. This show's really about you today. He's telling you that.
He's great.
Yeah, you're a great guitar player, man.
Well, he's a big Van Halen fan too.
Yeah. Rock guitar, he's great stuff.
In fact, he was the first person to cry on my show. I got you, Phil.
That's awesome.
But it was awesome. We were talking about Van Halen 1 and how much it impacted him. So it really impacted him big time. So Triumph was big for you. That's right.
A big deal for me, man.
So you were really into Rick, and who else? Anybody else besides Kiss, Rick? Who else can you think of just right off the top of your head? Were you into any of the Zeppelin?
Yeah, I liked that stuff. I did not like it. Oh, Van Halen was big for me.
Yeah.
Because, I just, if you didn't love Van Halen, you were a weirdo, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Well, it was the time.
Fair warning, fair warning, and you know what I mean. Yeah. Sitting around with my buddies and that was trying to share a beer and four of us drinking it and trying to figure out how to play the intro of Mean Street or something.
Right.
There was always that.
Right.
And I loved AC/DC, man, because I loved what Angus and Malcolm Young were doing because it was.
Raw.
Yeah, it was it, man. It was count to four rock and roll, man. Yeah. So what if the last song was an A? So was this one. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they didn't care.
Right, I agree. Totally. I told this to a few people, but they're one of the few bands you could watch on TV and be standing up by the end of it. On TV. They're just that powerful. They're just amazing.
Man, they're just
great.
And I know that sounds cliche somewhat, but I really did. I enjoyed that stuff back then, but I had an unhealthy passion for Triumph back then,
Yeah, so it's like, one of the albums that when I was in high school that we played, it was a song off. It was I forget which one it was, but it was Spellbound. Remember that song, Spellbound?
Absolutely, man. And that was a good one, man.
But it had a lot of complexity to chords, and Rick had such complexity to his playing.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
and a lot of variety in his playing. So
he didn't find it very often.
Yeah, but he had the voice of like a plant with the complexity of a Steve Howe or something.
I told one of my friends we were driving up there, and I said, really, honestly, if I could equate it with anything, I would say that Rick Emmett has the guitar imagination and capability that Freddie Mercury had with his voice. Like, I can't wait to see the movie. We're going to go see the movie.
Yeah, we're going to see the movie.
So, they're sitting there and he's like, yeah, and this is the part where we're going to do this.
Right, the opera part.
The opera part, and the rock and roll band's like, what are you talking about? But that was how Rick Emmett was. He was like, we're going to play this sonata.
Right.
In the middle of
of a rock song.
Fight the good fight or something.
Right.
Or Never Surrender or something. And they would just pull it off, and it would always be rocking. It would always be perfect. That's
what really attracted me to him too, because he would play even nylon string. You know, he would play. He was like Steve Howe a little bit. Like Steve Howe would go from one type of guitar to another, and he had that sort of sensibility about him. But it wasn't really. It was power trio though.
Steve Howe, what a great guitar player, man.
Yeah, those guys are incredible.
Steve Howe, he was with Steve Howe and some. I was back during that same time I was listening to Steve Howe. I was listening to a lot of Frank Gambale. Remember that guy?
Oh, yeah.
Jazz guy, man.
What a player.
Great
sick,
player.
Right?
Great player.
Those guys are crazy. So you're in your teen years. Well, let's go to you're playing guitar and doing some shows with your mom, and you're growing up on all this great rock and roll stuff. So your first band.
My first real band that I played guitar in was a band in the 8th grade.
Oh yeah, okay.
And we were called Death Watch.
Death Watch.
Yeah, we were rock and roll, man. We did, and we did a couple of balls. Yeah, Death Watch. You gotta say it like that. You know?
Death Watch.
But yeah, we did that. Me and one of my best friends. We got in a band with a couple other guys. We played. We were terrible.
What were you playing? Priest and stuff, or what?
We were playing like we were playing some Seeger, but it was like Her Strut.
Yeah. Sure.
We did. What a great song.
Yeah, we did that.
Did y'all do that song?
We did it with Angela, yeah.
Oh, it's awesome!
Angela sang it.
I gotta go see that crap. Anyway.
I might have a video I can send it to you.
Oh, I'd love to see that, man.
She rocked that song. She did.
I love, man. Angela could say grace and win a Grammy for it. You're awesome, Angela.
You heard that, Angela.
There you go. Yeah, we're calling out all our buddies today.
Yeah, so Seeger was in there too.
Seeger was in there. We played some Boston. I love Boston. And once again, and you've heard me play and sing before. You know that my voice tends to go tenor. I tend to sing higher than I sing lower. So those bands, Journey, bands that had high timbered singers and rock and roll guitar players, I was drawn to those because I wanted to be both. And that was what I was saying, Rick Emmett.
Yeah.
Totally influenced me so hard because I wanted to be able to do, like, I'd wake up in the morning and go, I want to be like that guy. It was that guy I wanted to be like. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then later on, as I began to develop my music, and you and I think talked about this a while ago, when my tonal tastes began to change.
Yeah.
They began to form, and I began to understand it. My musical listening changed too.
Sure.
Then I couldn't stop listening to Zeppelin, and I couldn't stop listening to Hendrix, and I couldn't to Buddy Miles Express, and the Hendrix time with Buddy, and just all that stuff, because that guitar. You ever listen to David Grissom? That Storyville type stuff. God, Storyville, what a great band. God. But you guys are awesome. Anyway, but that double string. That kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
That two-string stuff,
Right. Yeah. Right.
And then I really started hearing that stuff.
I always think of Hendrix when I think about it, even though that's probably not.
Well, yeah, I think that I believe that he probably did coin.
He was always doing those.
Yeah, man, and I just think, you know what, and I had a good friend of mine tell me you should practice that stuff on your acoustic, because if you practice on your acoustic, you'll be able to hear the two notes better, and you won't be relying on your amplifier.
Right.
I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. And I tried it on acoustic, and I couldn't even do it.
Right,
and I'm like, he's right.
Right, it's different.
I gotta go tell him he's right. It's like Michael Klein said one time in the car when Scott Kennedy was still in the band. Michael wanted to stop at the Dollar General. Okay, so now we're playing in Destin. Michael stopped at the Dollar General, but Scott said we're not going to take off and turn and go down the road here to Dollar General because there's so many Dollar Generals. We're just going to see one.
Right.
And there's no sense in to go out of the way. And he was right. Okay, so we get there, we were at the Dollar General. Michael goes, I don't know whether I'm more appalled that the drummer was right or that the drummer wouldn't take the turn when I just asked him to do it for me. Anyway, how about
Right. That's funny.
Good stuff, yeah.
Yes.
But that was what I was listening to, starting to really identify more. And then Gary Moore
Oh, yeah.
And his solo stuff, you know.
Of course.
Come on, man. I mean, all the stuff with and Thin Lizzy became one of my later on big influences too, because Gary Moore made me want to hear more Thin Lizzy, and of course my friend Michael, that we play with together so much, Michael Klein, and he's a big Thin Lizzy fan, Phil Lynott fan, and we listened, you know, drank a lot of Jack Daniels over the years after the gig, you know, in Charlotte and places like that, where I'm really listening to those players and you know, once again, Les Paul. You know, just starting to hear that tone and realize that was really where I needed to be at.
Right, that sound. Yeah. Well, Gary Moore, he was like, he's known for the kind of blues thing, but he was a shredder back in.
He was a shredder
in the earlier days, which is when I first got into him. He was doing a cover of that Shape of Things, Jeff Beck thing. And dude, just the way he attacked it was very similar to Healey in the way they attack a note, you know, or Stevie Ray, or even Hendrix.
You know, he was you know,
and I know he was influenced by Hendrix a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Gary Moore, man, he played through a 100-watt Marshall, and he tried some gun all the way up, play his Les Paul through it, and it sounded like that.
It's just amazing. Yeah, I watch those videos, man, and I can't believe nobody really, you know.
I mean, we can never get, we can't even fart in a club now without getting the cops down. We can't even do a gig like that.
Gary Moore just couldn't even come around. Just forget that. Yeah. So your first band, then you went on to what next after that?
Well, you know, it wasn't that serious, but to us it was, and we had a really good time. I sang with a couple different cover bands. Mm-hmm. And really, I want to say I was maybe 23 or 24. Mm-hmm. And I had lunch one day with my pastor of my church that I was going to. And I said, listen, man, I can't see why I'm not making a living playing my guitar and singing, because I love it so much. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And I've got, on the one hand, all of the people that follow my Christian music that I'm playing, and they want me to continue to doing these things. And on the other hand, I'm working 65 hours a week at my day job. I'm busting my ass.
Right.
And I can't go play my gigs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I get all stressed out, and I have this stress episode. It wasn't really a stroke. It wasn't really a heart attack. And I was... Yeah. I woke up and I had blown up a bunch of veins in my leg, and I went to the doctor because I had a hard time walking. And she told me I had a stress-related issue. But I needed to quit playing these gigs and being out every night if I was going to work that many hours at my day job. So I quit my job.
Yeah.
What was your day job? I worked at a landscaping company at the time. I was a GM of a landscaping company. I worked really hard, and I never was afraid of work.
Right, sure.
But there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to be holding the guitar and singing, because it made me feel good to make people feel good. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And
so you quit your job?
I did. I quit my job. My preacher gave me the high five. You know what I mean?
So he kind of blessed that, and
he was, he's like, man, here's the thing, man. You could get hooked on heroin sitting in the third row at the church.
Sure.
It's just easier in a band. That's the way you said it to me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And but those are the things that I never. That wasn't an issue for me.
Sure.
So I went on, and I began to play music, and I began to play solo gigs, because one thing that he told me and that another musician told me that really stuck with me was that if you could get a good acoustic rig and go play some acoustic gigs, one thing is that people will always be able to afford one guy.
Sure.
And second, you can always count on you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
If you're always out there, if you want to be a full-time musician, you can always count on you. So if nobody to blame for being late but you.
Right.
Nobody to worry about. The monitor went out. We just played 60 gigs where the whole band made the same amount of money, but it's busted, and I got to pay for the new one.
Right.
You don't deal with that.
Sure.
What you deal with is, I got this gig on whatever night with so-and-so. It was from this time to this time, and it pays this much, and this is what the average age is of that room. And I would go and begin to learn a set list for that room. You know what I mean? I think you and I are both similar in that aspect as well.
Yeah.
And that we, both understand that sometimes you can't just go play what you want to play. It's great and everything.
Sure.
And it's great to go play originals, to do those things. And, I'm fortunate, we're fortunate in North Alabama to have so many rooms that are original friendly. We can go play our songs if we want to. But, you hop in a car and you drive to any town USA, and they want to know what your set list is. They want to know how many people in the band so they can afford you, and they want to know whether or not you're going to be too loud, or what. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They don't want you to run people off.
They want these things. They want to know, hey, have you got your crowd? And I get that,
especially as a bar owner.
Yeah. It's the other end of it. I get that, but I'm more of a hey. It's great to bring people, but it's just as important to keep the people that are there.
Right.
You play 2 songs, everybody goes, all right, those Jeff guys, those guys got so damn well, I can't, man. They leave or whatever, or 5 o'clock Charlie, we hear that all the time. They come to my place, they're like, you're too loud, and I'm like, move. You know what I mean? It's a 5,000 square foot bar, get your ass up and move.
Right.
But we don't always have that.
Right.
Luxury. Like at my place, you do.
Right, sure.
You could tell some chick or some dude to kiss your ass if you really thought you needed to.
Right.
And I wouldn't care. But not everywhere's like that, and not everybody can get away with the things that we do over there because we have it set up for sound.
Sure.
But anyway, back to it, I didn't stay much band influence, Jeff, because I was so busy trying to make a living.
Mm-hmm. So you that was your safer bet.
Yeah, and then when I tried to get into a band, something always happened.
Yeah, there's always some sort of issue that happens.
And plus I was getting better.
Yeah.
I was a better singer than a player, I think. And I was out. I could play not New Kid in Town, that's a business song, but I could play Desperado, or Take It Easy, or Turn the Page, or whatever they wanted to hear,
Right.
And I could make some money.
Yeah, he could take a request and get some tips for that.
So that began to work out for me. And then at the same time that happened, simultaneously, my musical peers began to separate back then too. And I'm sure it probably happened in Birmingham too. Was that area during the 90s, and even really now, where if you don't play all originals, you're a sellout.
Right.
And,
Yeah, because we did a mix. We used to do a mix.
Yeah, I believe a mix is a good thing, but you have to look at the room.
Yeah, sure.
You got to know they want to hear your stuff before you ever expect. Calvin Wooten said this at the forum. None of us are entitled.
Sure.
We're not entitled to anything. It was a music forum in our town recently.
Yeah. And I agree. And when he said that was something that resonated with me.
Yeah, if you play for a room full of people, whether it's 10 or whether it's 200, you want them to like it, and if they do, you want them to stay liking it. And if they're out there going, play some of your stuff, then you obviously do.
Right.
But you don't go in there and play 6 of your original songs in a row, and if 3 people complain to the management, you're never playing there again, because that's, well, you're right about that. You're never playing there again.
Right.
But you have to find that mix.
Yeah. You got to know your room.
That's right.
Know your room.
For me, it was always 100% the room. Like, I'm not going to drive to Smith's Old Bar in Atlanta and play covers. No. Mm-hmm. No. I'm not going to do it. And if you want to come to my place and play originals all night long, cool. Do what you want to do. But if everybody gets up and leaves the second song, I'm like any other owner. I'm not going to book you anymore.
Part 2. So, know your room, know your audience.
Yeah. It's good to know those things, and it's it's an easy read in a band that pays attention, and it's an easy read when you're by yourself.
Yeah.
So I chose.
So you do acoustic for a while. You're primarily solo.
And I play with Donnie Cox in a duo as well.
Okay.
And we did a lot of shows. And
did you like duo or single better?
I like duo better because of the camaraderie. Same with Chad. Same with Chad when I play with Chad. When Donnie and I would play together, there's always that camaraderie. We could go travel together and you got somebody to talk to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Angela would always talk to me about this. She's like, I used to do solo, but I really just got tired of doing that.
Yeah, well, I'm never going to get tired of doing solo gigs, but I do get tired of those aspects of it. The aspect where I'm
by yourself.
Yeah, by myself and I'm alone. When I was traveling on the road so much before, I was 5-6 states. You know what I mean? I've stayed going through, kind of in and out, and you get lonely.
Sure. It does make it better, right? Huh? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about 5 O'Clock Charlie real quick.
Okay.
Where did that start? How did it come together?
Well, 5 O'Clock Charlie has morphed over the years into different. I'm now the only remaining original member of that band. Scott Kennedy and I formed that band.
And Scott is.
Scott is, he has some physical issues, and he got to a position where that if he played, he was in an enormous amount of pain. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the members, when we originally formed the band.
And how long does this go?
It was in the 90s.
Okay. Yeah. So
it's 27 years ago.
Yeah. Wow.
28 years ago.
That's amazing.
It was myself and Scott and a great drummer and singer and guitar player from this area named Mark Smith. Mark played with David Anderson and Jim Cavender in the jazz band The Jungle.
Yeah, he told
me.
me.
They won Blues Downbeat of the World.
He told me about that, yeah.
And I want to say that was in 96 that happened. But I may be wrong, because I'm wrong about a lot of things. But Mark wasn't doing a lot except for playing a few solo gigs. So he kind of played chords and sang.
Yeah.
But he was a drummer like no other. He was a monster. He was jazz, played different grips, different weirdness. And he and Scott were magical together. And Scott also had congas. So think about it.
Yeah.
We had a guitar player, a bass player, 2 drummers, or a guitar player, an acoustic guitar player, and a drummer, or a guitar player, a drummer, and a percussionist. It was really neat.
Right.
We could do a lot of different songs, and we did a lot of different songs.
Sure.
And people never knew what they were going to get, and they would say that to us at a time where some of the bands that were playing and coming through, you could set your watch by their set.
But you're talking about the qualities of the people that you bring together. That gives you
we could switch out. And one night Mark would say, "Hey, I'm sick." Well, that's cool. I could sing all night. Sure. It's just neat. It was neat.
Sure.
But Mark, finished up school, fell in love, got married, moved away. Our bass player Steve, he had decided to focus more time on his painting. Steve Lenny is an excellent painter. You guys check out his stuff; it's really good. But Steve left, and Matt Ross joined the band, and we had a guy named Jay Wilson in the band. And Jay was originally with the Fiddleworms, which was Scott's the band he was in, and Matt's band. They had become quite ahead of steam before Chris Quillen passed away, and they're still around now, out playing and doing things. But we had Jay, and Jay was, Jay was having some troubles with addiction. You know what I mean? And he bolted on us, and then there we were. There was 3 of us. And we had a guy named Dave Cornelius in the band before then. He moved away. He got a job, moved away with his wife. And so 5 O'Clock Charlie was ever morphing, but when we became that 3-piece at that time, we were like that, and we were strong, we were creative, we were doing a lot more rock, a lot more dark stuff because Jay left the band. We were pissed at the time, you know what I mean?
And this is all original, or?
Yeah, we had a lot of original stuff, but we could play 4 hours of covers, but 5 O'Clock Charlie could play a 3-hour show of originals almost out of the gate because of the band's the amount of writing talent that was in the band at the time, and Dave left, it became Jay, and then Jay left and it became me and the guys, and hey, is this arrangement okay? And we did our first 2 albums at Johnny Sandlin's, and when we did that second with Johnny, Johnny and I co-produced that one. He produced the first one, but the second one, it was really like he was a member of the band, and we were talking. Like I would come with an arrangement, and he'd go, "Well, it's kind of weird, but it fits."
Where were you at?
Duct Tape.
Okay.
duct tape of music cutting over there with Johnny, and you know, it was a magical time, you know. But Matt wanted to do more. Matt wanted to play in another band and be musical, and we were musical and everything. We were a rock and roll band. He wanted to be more cerebral,
right?
And I think he was just tired of it, you know. I don't know,
right.
And he left and joined another band in town, and then we ended up. Michael had left his plant. Michael Klein had left his plant. Was moving here,
right?
And my friend Tom Winstead was living here at the time too. And Tom was also a monster bass player. He lives in Dallas now. And Tom had been sitting at the bar with a scotch in his hand for 6 weeks, writing down our arrangements.
Oh, yeah?
And he came up to me one day and he goes, dude, I've been working on all your stuff and I can be your bass player until Michael gets here if you'd like. And we were like, okay. And he was so good.
Right, wow.
He just walked up there, Jeff, and just absolutely crushed it. You know, so Matt was gone, and Tom was playing, and Mike came in when Tom left, and Tom moved off. And so then we were a three-piece again, still searching, still wanting that fourth person. When I got the tap to go out with Gary, to audition for Gary Nichols.
Right.
Jimbo Hart and I auditioned for Mercury the same day.
Right. And so this is what year?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Jude was a baby. She was 4 months old, so 2005.
Okay.
Early 2005.
That's about when I hit here. That's when I started playing here.
And it was about the same time,
yeah.
And I saw Gary at a retail store in the Shoals. And then he went back to the guy and said, hey man, I saw Roberts the other day, just by chance, man. What do y'all think about him for the auxiliary spot? And all the guys in the band are friends of mine. And they were like, absolutely, let's see, you know what I mean? And the bass player they had was leaving, and then they were going to audition Jimbo at the same time too, and then we both got the nod, and then off we went. Mm-hmm. So during that time, we were playing with Gary, and when I was home, I played with 5 O'Clock Charlie. Mm-hmm. But I also, Chad Reeves was in that band. And Chad Reeves was one of the ones that gave me the nod for Gary to, hey man, you ought to call Roberts. He can sing the high parts. And he doesn't care if he just plays G. He doesn't have an attitude about that stuff. He just goes out there and plays. Right. So they auditioned and I got the gig and we went out and we played. And Chad subsequently became a member of 5 O'Clock Charlie.
I got you. Yeah.
But Chad had some solo gigs that paid better, so Thursdays were still 3-piece.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So we still had that little bitty budget.
Mm-hmm.
And then the bar closed down he was playing at. The guy sold it. This happens so often.
Sure. Yearly. Every season.
So it happened, and Chad was like, well, I lost my gig. The band talked about it. We all agreed we would rather make less money. Take the shitty money gig as opposed to playing without each other. Right, sure. And that was when we started getting, really tight, Jeff. You know how it is playing with Tim for so long.
Yeah, sure.
You're also great, Tim.
That's right, man.
Anyway.
Yeah, you play together a lot. You
play together a lot
of hours.
Yeah. You do a lot of machismo, the movements of, hey, let's pick up this new song. You might even be able to listen to it on the way to the gig and give it to your drummer and freaking just do it. Sure. And that's great, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But Scott left. It had to happen. We got Ricky Fargo in. Well, Ricky subsequently started working on his songwriting career in Nashville, which he got picked up at the time by Sony Tree. Mm-hmm. He's with somebody else now. I remember this week. He changes, those songwriters have to work hard up there.
Right, sure.
But he left, and Billy Teichmiller was just right there. And Billy had played around Huntsville. Mm-hmm. When I was young, I used to sneak into the bar and watch Billy play. Mm-hmm. And
so quite a cast of characters over the years.
Yeah.
Sort of like my first band was. I had at least 10 members.
Yes, it definitely.
10 members in 10 years.
And you know how it is. So the band just kept morphing and evolving,
Right.
Until this last year, for the first time in all those years, I decided I wanted to just do something different for a minute.
Yeah.
Just something. Just some covers. that nobody else wanted to do even. This fun stuff that all the people would go, you go out and play with Black Eyed Susan. It's a cover gig, but man, there's tons of people there and they're all having a great time.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. If you're going to play music in front of people, it doesn't matter if it's yours or somebody else, as long as you get to feel that appreciation. And that's
what that's how I always had this thing, like when I was a kid, like it didn't really matter if of course you want the biggest thing you can. I always thought of it like the more people that I could touch, the better.
Yeah.
So if that meant, Black Eyed Susan was the messenger for that, then so be it, you know?
Right.
And so, if it would have been an original band, that'd have been fine too.
Right.
Whatever would have worked for that.
And I think, I taught for a lot of years, okay?
Sure.
And I still do every now and then hide around the corner and teach somebody a thing or two if I can, but and they want me to. Sometimes they don't want me to. But it's that there's that gratification there. My friend Jeff Glover, do you know Jeff Glover?
Oh.
Jeff is a longtime musician here in the North Alabama area, and he's also a fantastic repair, and he does electrics too, but his acoustics, Martin's or Jeff's thing.
Okay. And
he looked at me one day when I was probably 12 and said, "Hey, I don't call it playing for nothing."
Right.
That stuck with me because, as long as I can have a good time and play, and as long as I got to play, I know we're making the same we made in 1972. Right. I get all that.
Right, sure.
But at least we're making it. At least we get to go out and play what we want to go play. And at least we also still know if it really, really is that bad and we're that pissed, we can leave.
Right.
We can get our toys and go home.
I mean, we need to.
And that's just something a lot of people don't really get to say.
Yeah. Well, you know what? How long have you been full-time?
I don't know.
A long time.
28, 29 years.
Yeah. So, when I came...
270, 280 shows a year.
I made that decision in 07, 08. That I could pull together enough stuff to do that, That's why I have so many bands. Because as I'm not a singer, I have to figure out a way to make that work for me.
Yeah.
So multiple bands was the answer to that, to make enough money to make that work.
And you switch it up too, genre-wise.
Yeah,
that makes it all work.
We do different stuff all the time. So
God, Goebbels band's playing there again tonight. It's not like that at all because it's different.
Yeah, different bands.
If I booked all your bands on 4 weeks in a row, they'd be like, "That's the same guys."
They say that, yeah. That's different music.
Yeah. And that's how the so-and-sos are too, my other altar kind of band with Gus Hergert on drums and Clint Bailey on the keys.
Yeah.
From Liquid Caravan.
They switch it
and the Fiddleworms who Clint plays with.
Switch up the material.
And
we would switch up we usually switch up the singer and the material.
Yeah.
We're the kind of the house band to these singers.
Right. And that's helpful, to be, you're fortunate because a lot of musicians, they can't find that singer, man. And you're able to find several of them to do because of, you're the Nick Saban of singer recruiters. That's great, guys.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah,
it's kind of an accident.
It's great though, man.
It's an accident.
Pick up some, hey, man.
But you know what it was? It was just, it's like, this is what I want to do and what you wanted to do and you found a way.
Yes.
I mean,
no wasn't an option.
If it's acoustic for you, then that's what you did.
Yeah.
And this is what I did to do that too. But when I made the decision, dude, I know you know this because you're full time, and Dave and people that I know are full time. We all know that. God, would we ever want to go back to not doing that? No. I mean, or would you?
I could do it, but I would have to do something I wanted to do. And I would have to employ myself because I can't listen to nobody. Right. I would have to do that.
But you could do something else you loved if you were doing it for you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing the bar, like I said, but here's what happened. When Jude turned about 3 years old, he was no daddy, no get on the bus, don't get on the bus, daddy. And I didn't want to get on the bus anymore because my almost 3-year-old was crying.
Right.
So I quit my gig.
Right.
And
that's not unusual.
It's not unusual, and it's not. There's definitely no shame in it. And all the guys gave me their blessing because they were standing right there when they saw it happen, and they were with me. They were like, "Dude, oh God, it's terrible."
Right.
And it all went great, but I bought the bar to have something steady.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and now 10 years later, I've almost got my bills paid off where I bought it. Almost.
Sure.
And even when it does, my passion is going to be my guitar. And that's just how that's how I'm wired, man. I can't help it,
right,
you know. And I do love it because it lets me stay connected with my musician friends more.
Sure.
It does. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I got some bands like your band. They book way out, and I get that. And sometimes I miss some shows. That's okay though, right?
Sure.
But then, you know, I've got, you know, people that I never get to see. And sometimes my homies from back in the day will come through. Or like, you might be able to call me and say, I got some friends in Birmingham and they're just really that good. Do me a favor and hook them up on the 26th. I need a date.
Sure.
You know, and I can do that.
Right.
I love that.
Sure.
And I love that I cut my teeth in that bar and I've got a direct... how do you say it? I get to make a difference in it staying open, Jeff. I get to make a difference in it being what musicians want it to be.
Sure.
As opposed to something that musicians don't want it to be.
Well, I always would, you know, people have asked me, like, would you should open up a bar. And I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can handle all that. That's a lot more.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother level of stuff. I know it's difficult.
I don't know what I'll do because we never know what we'll do when you get to a certain point of it. But I know that, you know, I'm going to play my music.
Sure.
And if the bar ever gets in the way, then we'll figure that out then.
Right. No need to worry about that.
I'm not really touring much anymore, other than just, you know, in a state or two capacity.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Regional, yeah.
Like the only time. I think I might play in Decatur or the Shoals in October. I'm playing the infield at Talladega this year for the first time, so I was excited about that.
Right, cool. So let's talk about some of the cool people that you like. Sandlin, you obviously, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And some of the other people that you either work for or work with or open for, or some of the cool experiences.
Gosh, man.
Some of the cool things that just come to mind.
Man, we got to do some shows with Clint Black. And I got to do some shows with Brad Paisley. And of course, you know, Jason Aldean, they were one of the first. Him and Miranda Lambert were two of the first acts that we began to tour with when we were going out. And, you know, you see how big they are and how big they were getting at the time. And they were just so good to us. You know what I mean? And Taylor Swift, you know, we were out with Taylor when she was, you know, I was Uncle Mike. She sang my background parts on our Gary's radio songs. I mean, you know, and those were cool things. Now, I hear a lot of things about these people that are negative, I guess, but I didn't experience those.
Sure.
I think that there
That's just a lot
great musicians out there doing it. I think they're trying the best that they can try to do. Like the rest of us would do.
There's just a lot of drama that's inherent with
Listen,
everything.
man, if you were out there, all of a sudden you were on tour with whoever, you'd have your, you know what I mean? Everybody has their naysayers, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Sometimes your naysayers can give you that spark you need to go further, you know?
Right. I have them on this channel.
Awesome!
You get haters that like, I don't like your voice.
Wow, man.
You got an accent. I'm like, I do.
You got a voice for radio, face for radio. That's it. That's
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I got to do a show, man, one time. It was one of Chad's kids was being born. I can't remember which one. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all have 85 of them, and I can't remember. But it was one of the kids was getting born, and we went and played this show at the Millington racetrack, which is outside of Memphis. And I was familiar with Millington.
Yeah.
And the first thing I saw when I got off the bus was Elvira. She was there.
Oh, really? Cool.
It was cool.
Right.
And then I got on the elevator with Mickey Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I hung out with Mickey Jones on the elevator. And I get off the elevator and I walk into the backstage and John Snyder's sitting there.
Oh, wow.
And I'm calling Chad and I'm like, you're not going to believe this. He's like, I'm not believe, you know what I mean? He's like, I can't believe this is all happening at the same show. Always people at the same show, you know what I mean?
That's crazy.
I had a lot of fun out there with Daryl Worley. Big and Rich were always good to me. John Rich was always nice to me. Another one of my friends knocked him out one night, but
you knocked him out.
Yeah, well, pretty close to knocking him out if you didn't. But that's another story.
Right? No,
you know who you are.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, those guys were fun, you know, and Marty Stewart was fun, you know what I mean? Because those were guys that my mama listened to, man.
Right.
Like when they sat around talking about how cute that guy was and how they wouldn't throw that guy out of the sack for eating Ritz crackers or something weird like that, and you're like, oh my God, Mom, it's so gross. And then I'm sitting there drinking Crown with a guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Billy Dean.
That's
Dude, Billy Dean. Play show Billy Dean. What are you talking about? Hell yeah, that's awesome. You know what I mean?
Isn't that crazy?
I always enjoyed my shows out there with Bo and those guys, but it's just different because those are my friends too. You know what I mean?
Right.
And even with when Heartland was out there, you know, what I would do is we would go through these rooms that would hold like 5,000 people, you know, and their poster would be up.
Yeah.
Like for the next week,
yeah.
And I would get a pen and I would like pull the back of the poster out and write on it, like in the corner, like saying, you know, you guys are assholes or whatever, or like, you know, Jason Albert has my illegitimate love child, and I would push the back in, and then it didn't take long. Myerson would be like, saw what you wrote the other day. He'd call me. We're at the 8 Second Saloon in Indianapolis. You know, heard you rode the bull. I'm like, yeah. I also signed your Playdate poster. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. You know, we put stuff on each other's things a whole lot. And that was always fun. You know what I mean? Right. I didn't look at those guys as the guys who had a #1 hit on the radio. Those guys were just guys we hung out at the steak and shake.
You're right. Local guys. Right. That's crazy.
So, yeah, but I guess...
So the Bo Bice thing, how did that... I mean, obviously he was on Idol. And,
with Bo, yeah. You know...
I guess you knew him before.
Yes, yeah, I've known Bo a long time, and he's like any of the rest of us, out there trying to bust his ass and make a living.
Because I missed that because I came into town about the time that all happened, and he went.
And it's odd that you did because Bo was going through, like the rest of it, he's tearing up south, he's playing around Birmingham area, and And every now and then he would holler at me when he was on the show. Dude, I'm going to do this song tomorrow. What do you think? And
right.
And I think he crushed it on the show.
Oh yeah.
And
it was close.
It's all that twist of fate, man.
It was.
That ended up being Carrie. And there she is. But.
She's done really well. She's been one of the standouts of all those.
For real, and they're still good friends. They still talk, And
did you ever work with her?
Not Carrie, no.
But with Taylor, you did.
I worked some shows with Blake Shelton.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, those guys are idiots, man. I love those guys.
I've heard about
There was some Blake Shelton's fun on the road, man. A lot of fun. And I was on tour with them, and
Angela told me some stories about him because she was judged by him.
That's right. He was on. Was she on his team?
Nashville
Star.
No,
she was judged by him because that was before The Voice. Holy cow!
Nashville Star. Yeah,
quite big,
Yeah. I remember because it was before that.
Well, I know, but I don't know. I mean, I played not a ton with Bo. You know what I mean? We were just homies. We're just brothers. You know what I mean?
But did you go out on the first album that he did?
I did. Okay. On The Real Thing?
Yeah.
Yes. His guitar player left to go play with Delvin McClinton. Okay. Can you believe it?
Right.
Totally kidding. But yeah, and he needed a guy at the time, so I went out. I wasn't in the original band when he went out because I was out with Gary then, if you'll recall.
Okay.
But he was still doing Real Thing, man. Come on, that was his hit, his radio hit. They had a couple of them.
I know a lot of
which was really weird because Bo's stuff was way more rock and roll than what they were giving him to do.
They got pop stuff.
I think if they'd let him have that's just my 2 cents. If they let Bo have his way and choose the songs he wanted to choose, there might be a different outcome right now.
Right.
But I can tell you right now, he he's had a pretty darn good run with Blood, Sweat, and Tears,
right.
as well. And I think that he might not be. I think he's coming off the road with them now.
Right. I saw that he was doing that. But that's cool though. I mean, you got to do what's in your heart, and if you can't own it, you can't do it any justice.
Right. And he was going to do some Broadway stuff there for a while.
Oh, really?
But the Blood, Sweat, and Tears thing came up, and that was way more his wheelhouse.
Right.
Than the other stuff. I can't be a spokesperson, obviously, but I can tell you that I think that I'm as proud of what he has accomplished musically as any of my friends my whole life.
Sure.
I'm really proud of it.
Well, it was an amazing run.
I thought it was really cool. He asked me to come out and do a few shows with him. You know what I mean? Like I said, once again, we're not entitled. It's who they tell you to use and who can cut the mustard. And sometimes at that particular point in time, if you don't get the call, it can be devastating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you do get the call and you actually get it, it can be very gratifying.
Sure.
And for me, it was. I had a good time.
Sure.
Out with Bo. And I had a really great time out with Gary, because I made lifelong memories and friends, and
sure.
And as well as, like I told my son this the other day, is like, what's the thing that you appreciate the most about being a full-time musician all of those years? And I'm like, besides playing the Grand Ole Opry,
right,
it would have to be seeing America and not having to pay for it.
Right.
Golly, guys.
Right.
Hey, we're going to be in this place and this place and this place and this place. I always wanted to go to Spokane. Well, I'm in Spokane. Wow, holy cow, here I am in Spokane, Washington. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just all these different places that I wanted to be, and I got to go be there because I play my guitar and sing. It's so awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
Man.
You start realizing how fortunate you are for that thing.
I don't want to do nothing else.
I'm with you there, brother. That's something else. So, as far as you're talking to your son about your career, about for younger people who are coming up, what's your advice? Get 2 or 3 things. You kind of hit a few things, but
I would say practice. Know your notes. You can't be different from everybody else. Well, you can be different from everybody else if you want to be, but it's a whole lot easier if you try to figure out how to play the darn thing first.
Right. So get your basics down.
I'm saying.
Right.
And basic business, Jeff. You and I have talked about this more than once. It's
right.
It's show up on time. Have a good rig. Have extra strings. Have extra picks. Have an extra cable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Help load in the stuff. Don't call the bartender a bitch. Little simple stuff that we do every day of our life,
right,
as a full-time musician, that some of those things may come into play. Sometimes you're like, well, golly, didn't expect that to happen, but if you show up on time and you show up with your gear and you do your job and you practice, then don't entertain.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure. That's your job.
And those are the things that I think, your manners, your skill set, and your entertainment capability are the 3 things I think, because you and I both know being a great guitar player is not the same thing as being a great entertainer.
Right. So one of the things that you told me today, which is, and this is kind of crazy, I never realized that you had cut your fingers off.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many people know that, because me, I never knew. And really, you're playing.
I think that's great.
But your playing is just, it's amazing that.
Thanks, man.
Tony Iommi did the same thing.
He did.
And that's kind of why he got the sound he got.
Phil Driscoll.
Wow, really?
Well,
you then
of course, Garcia.
What's his name with the 2 fingers?
Django Reinhardt.
Django.
Absolutely, man.
And that's awesome.
It's just funny.
So tell the story.
Of me losing my fingers?
Yeah, you're 17, right?
I'm 17. It's July the 4th.
Whoa.
And we were rebuilding a golf course in South Huntsville called Valley Hill.
Yep.
Still there.
Yep.
And we were on one of the sides there working on one of the holes. And if we got done, early enough, we were going to get to work a half a day, and we get paid for a whole day, and it was time. It was double time actually that day.
Okay.
So us minimum wage kids back then the minimum wage was $3.35 an hour. So
right,
we were making like $6.70 an hour, and we were like, hey, we're going to party,
Right on.
And I was there working, and then we had this thing called a sod harvester, so basically a big tractor, a BAT. And and I was inside that tractor, and someone turned it on, and I was trying to get out from under it because the immediate threat was my legs. I was going to lose them. I knew I would bleed to death right there on that golf course.
Right.
Before I ever got to the hospital, if both my legs got chopped off at my hips.
Right.
And that was what was going to happen. And so I grabbed the belt system and I pulled myself out. But when I pulled myself out, the obstruction in the belts, which I've been working on for this time, capsized. And when it did, because I'd been beating on it with a ball peen hammer for an hour,
right,
and it capsized, and my hand went inside the belts, and that's what you get.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And it ripped my fingers off because I ripped my hand out of the machine. I was told I picked it up off the ground. I don't know that, but that's what I was told.
Well,
and and I got there though, and I worked every day with these guys, and so two of these guys were two of my really close friends, and one of them vomited and one of them passed out. And I sat down on that golf course and laughed.
Really?
But it was funny, man. Because I was shocked. I was in complete shock, Jess.
Right,
you cut your fingers off, and you're standing there looking at them, you're holding your pinky in your hand. Okay, well, what am I going to do here, And it was so dirty, I just got a cellular bone infection, and it got really bad. I was in the hospital for 12 days, and I almost lost my arm. And
talk a little about that, the whole thing with the arm, what you were telling me earlier about how they didn't tell you they were going to amputate your arm.
They didn't tell me they were going to. I had a cellular bone infection, which is similar to gangrene, but in ways it's better, in ways it's worse. But they have to give you intravenous antibiotics to kill it.
Right.
And I got my parents are preachers, and so they're so proud. Anyway, they're in over there, their prayer circles out of some church. They're praying over me. Do you believe in healing? I believe in it. The next day, they're all happy and crying, just like they'd won the lottery, and the infection was dying in my arm. But I didn't realize the scope of it. I just knew my hand stank, and that my pinky was, probably, that big around,
Right.
It just was an odd time. It was difficult, but I was young, and all I could think to myself was that I had more to give.
Right.
Musically.
Right.
I hadn't given enough musically, and I was just getting started, and I wanted to continue. And the more I began to be told by people around me that was something that I needed to go ahead and just give up, and then it began to build that fire up under me, and,
right.
Inside of me, and
that you're going to do it.
That I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be successful at this, and I'm not going to give up, and I'm not going to be known as that guitar player that's missing fingers, but that guitar player that, basically just, that's good enough.
Right, that nobody notices it.
Right? You know what I mean?
Like I just told you.
Yeah, and
so I never knew that. I've been watching you for years.
Yeah,
that's
awesome. I had a guy come to me in Decatur a while back ago. I was at the Brick. I was playing a solo gig on Wednesday. Thank you, Brick, for the work. Right. Anyway, I'm over there playing a solo gig, and a guy walks up and goes, "Are you missing part of your pinky?" And I was like, it's really funny. We're trying to make my jokes. My son and I are really good at it. Like, he's missing fingers. What? We'd be looking on the ground, trying to find a contact or something. But yeah, we do those things. But I said, I told him, thanks, man. I'm glad that you didn't know that I'm missing fingers because
well, that's that's what you wanted, right? You wanted it to be just like.
Hey, I want to join your band. I'm missing fingers.
Right.
You know what I mean? I just wanted to be able to be one of the guys and be in the band and still be able to be looked at by my peers as an equal and not as
anything less.
He's good enough for a guy who's handicapped.
Sure.
I didn't want to hear that. Nobody who has any kind of physical disability wants to hear that crap.
Of course not.
And so yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's just an amazing. I never knew. I never knew all these years.
You know, and I guess if I was smart enough back then, it was the 80s too. Everybody sued everybody in the 80s. I should have done it, but I didn't do it.
Right.
But no, I just kind of went on with what it was, and I left the medical open to where if there ever was an operation that could give me a prosthetic
that could,
fix, and I would take it. But now, I don't think so,
you don't
man.
need to, no.
Yeah, I'm good.
You're good. Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It hurts in the morning sometimes if it's cold or it's going to rain. I mean, that's what it is. I guess
you're 51. It's gonna hurt. It hurts me. I've got all my stuff, and it hurts still too. So Michael Klein sent me some questions, and I'm gonna see if I missed anything here. Let's see.
I hope that you missed every single one of those.
I'm gonna let's pick one of these. Let's see. How about the song "Shake It"? What is that?
Do you want to hear about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This, I wrote a song called Shake It.
Yeah.
And I wrote it for my best friend. And he just wouldn't stop doing drugs.
Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't stop, man. He wouldn't stop, and it was killing him. In fact, he had been found unresponsive, and the dude punched him in the chest and yelled at him, and I guess scared the life back in him.
Wow.
He was blue.
Wow.
And I kept talking to him, and he had been such an advocate of reaching out and helping drug addicts to this point. And I'm like, dude, look at you.
Right.
And I wrote that song for him.
Wow.
I don't know. I certainly wouldn't get into any details because everybody on this podcast that knows me would know who I'm talking about if I said their name.
Right.
So I'm not going to do that. But I do. It was heavy. And when we first started playing it, I don't know why Michael said this, but I'm going to tell you this because I think this is absolutely epic, you guys. You've arrived. I'm playing at Bridge Street. No, not Bridge Street. It was Providence at the brick house or brickyard?
Brick house.
Brick house, okay.
Yeah.
Chad and I are playing a gig out there, and we're sitting there, and it starts raining.
Yeah.
Well, right before it started raining, I remember it because we were playing a song, and we finished it in the rain, and we made like $80 in tips because everybody thought it was so cool that we finished the song instead of stopping.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We played Shake It, and it was probably the best we'd ever played it, and people loved it.
Yeah.
And there was this couple up front that were crying because they had heard it. And this 8-year-old walks up and he goes, "Is that song about taking a pee?"
Shake it.
And we laughed. And we laughed. And we laughed. And we laughed. And we laughed about that little kid. Is that song about taking a pee? Shake it.
That's crazy. Well, he also said something about you getting in shape and getting your well, I don't know.
I've lost a lot of weight. I've lost 50 pounds.
Talking about, yeah.
And,
so what have you been doing?
I've been eating right. You know what I mean?
I know. I see those posts where you're talking about what they're cooking every day.
Oh my God. I got to stay out of there when she starts cooking that stuff. I'm telling you, sometimes the things that she cooks are just
too good, right?
I got to leave, Jeff.
Right.
I got to leave the premises. She makes chicken and dressing with candied yams and turnip greens. I'm like, I'm out of here. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I just leave the place. But I got real sick, Jeff, because I got real depressed. I struggle with depression. Some people do, some people don't. Mm-hmm. I had for years. Mm-hmm. Still do sometimes, not nearly as much as I used to, because I'm understanding now of a lot of things that I wasn't before.
Right.
And a couple years ago, I lost my very best friend, and I lost him 2 months after I lost my daddy.
Oh, yeah. And
I just was really, really hurting. So I drank a lot. A lot.
Right.
I began to gain a lot of weight. I gained like 50 pounds, which is not terrible, but on my frame,
yeah, right.
Sure. I was Fat Elvis.
Sure.
Short Fat Elvis. And so what I did was I went to my doctor, and she told me the prognosis that I probably would not live one more year.
Really?
With my kidneys, my liver, my heart, my lungs, my blood pressure, and my weight.
Wow.
And she gave me 7 prescriptions to take, and I told her basically that was BS to have to take these kind of pills the rest of your life. They're debilitating, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well, here's an idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can stop trying to kill yourself with a bottle of whiskey and maybe eat some broccoli. You know what I mean? Just try to take care of yourself a little better. And so I can get into a long, long story about it, but I'm not going to because it's just, it's boring for people to still drink.
There's still,
and I have no problems with that. You know what I mean? I don't own a bar. I'm not trying to change the world.
Sure.
But for me, I had to make a choice, and I couldn't moderate. Right? I couldn't do it, man.
Yeah.
So I quit.
Right.
I just quit.
Sure.
I quit drinking. I quit chewing tobacco. I chewed 12 cans of tobacco, the equivalent of 2.5 cartons of cigarette a week for 23 years.
Yeah.
I don't want a cookie for quitting.
Sure.
I started to begin with. But I definitely think that I'm just so fortunate that I have any fans, you know what I mean, left. Because of the amount of whiskey I was drinking and getting on stage, playing in front of people. And I'm lucky that I have a gig. I'm lucky that I have any friends. I'm lucky that I have a family and a kid that still loves me. So I quit.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer, and
Sure.
I did it.
Sure.
So yeah, I guess that's amazing. Whatever, maybe it is, but on the same token,
but you got to.
Yeah, and I don't regret my life.
Sure, you got to.
I don't regret my life.
You learn as you go.
But I just feel like, hey, I got a 13-year-old kid at the time he was 11 that needs a dad.
Sure.
For a while longer here,
Right.
big decisions. Dad, this is really big for me. What do I do? And me sitting there drunk. Or or him sitting around the campfire telling his friends his dad was great and all, but he died when he was 16 because he was a bleeding drunk.
Sure.
I just had to drop it, man. So I did. Sure. I got in shape.
Yeah.
I take martial arts. My son and I both take Israeli martial arts. It's called
cool.
Krav Maga. It's very violent. It's very physically taxing and emotionally taxing sometimes too. And I just absolutely am never going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Unless my doctor says, hey, your knees won't take it anymore.
That's funny. Was it Phil Collin from Def Leppard? He does martial arts as part of his, or kickboxing, I think is one of his things he does.
Oh, that's cool. He's in shape.
He looks better now than he did back in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, he looks way better now.
He's
and that's the way I feel. I'm in the best shape of my life right now. You know what I mean?
Tim's the same thing. He lost over 100 pounds.
Man, I always am sending him messages or commenting on his stuff, how great he's doing. And, and saying, a couple times my wife's like, you should get on Facebook and share what you've done. I'm like, well, you mean too much of something and then quit?
Yeah, well,
that doesn't seem very exciting.
But that's what I'm saying to you,
But
all of us can learn from
I think so.
From something like what Tim did, where he struggled all those years, and then he made up his mind. He said, "I'm over. This is over for me."
And he's got to feel,
a
gajillion times better. You know what I mean?
He does. He feels better.
Well, I'll put it to you this way: I get up in the morning, my truck's in the driveway. I wasn't much of a drinker and driver.
Right.
I was smart enough.
Right.
I got a DUI in 2005 on my birthday, and I was on tour with Gary. I had to get on a tour bus to go to Baton Rouge and Saginaw. I was touring with Willie Nelson and Randy Rogers, and we were out playing, and I had to leave, and I smelled like whiskey in a jail cell when I left.
Right.
And I never did it again. I never drank and drove a car, a vehicle, a lawnmower, anything ever again.
Done with it, right?
Yeah,
that's what you got to do sometimes.
Jail sucked. It sucks.
I know jail sucks. I've been there too. It sucks. We don't get there, kids. It sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
So,
I just that's I never did that. So, but my truck's in my driveway, so I can get to it. I feel fantastic. I can get up and go see my buddy Jeff.
Yeah, early in the morning. In the morning.
People are like, I always call you because I know that everybody else sleeps till 2 o'clock, and I'm like, well, I get it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But it's kind of like that. I don't know what to do with my hands thing now. I'm got all these things to do. You know what I mean? And before I'd be like, well, I can't go do that. I go see Jeff and Tim play tonight, but I'm off. But I can't go do that because I'll be drunk by 7.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense to me, man. So for all of you out there that are fans, I appreciate you staying around. It's nice of you.
That's Mike Roberts, y'all. He's episode number 22 of Musical Journeys. Thanks for coming on here.
Hey, man, I'm so glad you have me. Are you playing a 2.0 too?
You play that too? I thought you just had mine.
I play 2.0.
Do you?
It's my bit.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
What do you know? Let's play a little bit. You want to play some?
Purple picks, people.
Play some blues. That was awesome, dude. My first player on the show. I love it.
Really?
Yeah, man.